Hi, welcome to HeKate's Crossing. Okay, so this morning in the mail I've got the Primordial Tarot and the Sibyls Oraculum. Okay, the Oracle of the Black Doves of Africa. So let's explore first the Sibyls Oraculum. Let's just put the Primordial Tarot to one side. Whoops, I nearly dropped the whole thing, just what I don't want to do. Okay, so firstly, this is by the same creator that did the Hoodoo Tarot. Okay, now this is quite a different type of deck. It's not a traditional oracle deck where you've got all the same backs. Now each section or each set of cards is color coordinated for a reason. Okay, you can see the four colors here. Okay, now they are color coordinated. Don't mix them up. Personally, I think when you're doing, because of the instructions are quite specific, I think it's really important to use these cards like this. So the four colors, let me talk about the four colors. We've got the black. Okay, the black is the core issue cards. The copper ones are the projection cards. Now I think this one's called the blue. I didn't run the wrong way. Maybe that's the... because this has got blue in the inside. Oh no, maybe not. Okay, so maybe that is the blue. Is the cool action cards, and the red are the hot action cards. I think I'll find out more when we just sort of pull. Let me just have a look at what this is. Okay, this one's called Initiative. So let's have Initiative. And I'll find out which cards they are. Okay. I think if I could just go through, just give me an idea. I just want to make sure that I've got this right before we sort of start. Yes. Now that, yes, that's the blue. Okay, that's called the blue cool cards, action cards. Okay. Okay. So just wanted to make sure that was checked. So black, copper, blue, and red. Okay, so that's really important to just go through. So that's why it's really important, because when you go through and do them, it talks about, like, the core issue cards reflect the essential spiritual principles that a seeker should deeply reflect upon in relation to the query. Every challenge has a source, and that source is always on the querent's mind. Thus, the core issue card identifies where there is a fracture or a miscalculation in logic related to that question. Okay, about the projection cards. Okay, these projection cards reflect the rationalizations or justifications in the querent's mind that are preventing them from seeing the core issue. They are the comfortable masks of excuses that are placed on the truth that, if not removed and worked out, will eventually cause the querent internal suffering and possible external hardships, right? Now you've got, oops, here. The action cards are the oracle's advice. So these two here are the oracle's advice to the querent about what is immediately to do in the next relation to the querent. They're divided into two sets, one blue, one red. The blue set relates to the suggested internal state of mind the querent should foster in relation to their question, and the red set relates to the suggested external response. So internal, external response to the situation. The logic being that thoughts always precede actions and therefore are causal agents that affect everything that happens afterward. Thus, what one thinks is just as much an action as picking up a glass. The Sibyls Oraculum acknowledges this natural two-part process of action and advises the querent accordingly. So, starting with the consultants, I want to sort of start with this first before we sort of start looking at the cards and that, so you can sort of understand what they're about. Okay, consult the Sibyls Oraculum by following these steps. Firstly, the seeker poses a question, okay, phrased in, so comment on getting back together with, comment on loaning money to, comment on what lesson I need to master in this lifetime, comment on the meaning of the dreams I had last night. So comment on, okay? And so the seeker shuffles the deck with their questions and you select one black core issue card and set it aside. Then the seeker shuffles the deck, except for the one that you set aside. Well, then select one copper projection card and set it aside. Then you set the blue one and set it aside, and then the red one. Once all four cards have been selected, the oracle's response may be interpreted. Read the meaning of each card and jot down any inner whisperings that may be given you more information. Keep in mind that the divinatory meanings provided are not fixed, but instead are merely a guide to get you started. Okay, they actually say putting the decks together and then just choosing one of each of those cards. Or you could do them as four separate, but I suppose because there's not that many cards, it sort of doesn't, they don't mix properly. Where I suppose if you're mixing them all together, that's interesting. So maybe we'll look at that afterwards. It does talk about how you're reading for a person who's absent, a note about negative outcomes, where and when to do a reading, suggested don'ts for reading, so don't do a reading with a closed mind. Don't do readings if you're scared of the cards. Got some reading examples. Talks about keeping a Sibylline journey, which should be interesting. Applying the oracle wisdom in your life. You can do a core issue assessment by answering some questions. I mean, there's quite a lot in the book, which is quite a lot to sort of dive deep into, which is quite interesting. Then you've got your card meanings. So they're split into the four groups, of course: core issues, fundamental cards. It talks about what they are. Core issue cards reflect the essential spiritual principles that a seeker should reflect deeply upon in relation to the query. Each challenge has a source, and that source is always on the querent's mind. Thus, the core issue card identifies where there is a fracture or a miscalculation in logic related to the question. It is advisable to set aside any defensive emotions such as anger, denial, self-deprecation that may arise upon receiving the message, because those emotions are contrary to the purpose of clarification. So when you look, you've got the name of the card, say this is mysteries, right? Superior knowledge only initiates the audacious, and it's got some key symbols, like the mystery card's got a crow, represents intelligence, high knowledge, adaptability, the underworld and resourcefulness. Crows dine on the remains of the dead animals that died naturally or left over from the meals of predators, but they do not kill. So it just goes on about that. Then it's got religio-mythological associations, the god of Kamunu, the mythology, so it talks about that. It talks about Amun. Amun was worshipped by the Phoenicians, Libyans, Cushites, Greeks and Romans. His name means the hidden one. talks about that, and it's got the commentary. So it talks about the card, about what the card could mean. There is nothing that must remain unknown to us, even if it is currently inexplicable. Somehow we know that there is always more to learn, which ultimately leads to experimentation and eventually the revelation of previous inconceivable truths. We also know that once common knowledge in the past may revert back into the category of mystery again until the cycle towards rediscovery begins anew. Oops. So it does go on a little bit about the card and what it could mean. There is something that you are unclear about. The first step to realizing the answer is stop believing in the unknowable as an intrinsic fact. Loyalty to perception of permanence creates stagnation. It is the mother of desperation and hopelessness. The second step to clarification is stop believing that you can't be the vehicle for the solution. If you feel the light can only come through someone else, then it is not the right time for you to receive the answers you're seeking. Wow, so that's quite good. And then it gives you some questions to consider. So with so if you get the mysteries in the reading, if you get this card right, it tells you to stop and consider the following questions. Do you have a nagging question that just won't go away? And that, if answered, would allow you to move more peacefully through life? Are you afraid to ask what you want to know because you think it's impossible to know? Are you relying too much on the experts on the matter? Is ignorance really bliss for you? Are you attempting to hide or think you're too clever to be exposed? Are you purposely trying to misunderstand and make something confusing that does not have to be, out of fear of what the plain truth may reveal? Are you prepared to be right or wrong when the truth surfaces? Are you considering the consequences of revelation? Why do you really want to know? Does your knowing benefit your life, or are you just being nosy? Have you already had your aha moment or received intuitive guidance regarding the matter, but are purposely choosing to ignore it? Interesting. So it does go into quite a bit of depth there. So I just wanted to explain a little bit about the Sibyls Oraculum, the Oracle of the Black Doves of Africa. If you haven't used it before, or you've just received it, you haven't really explored the book yet, it is really quite in-depth. Now the artwork is by Catalin V. Foisy. Okay, this is a 44 card deck and book. So as I said, split into 4 sections. So let's go through and do each of the sections. And I'll just put all those cards together. So let's have a look at the imagery, shall we? Get back to that. Okay, mysteries. Wisdom. So I love that sort of artwork with it. It's just really cool, sort of mosaic artwork. Wow, just stunning. Love them. Love the artwork. So I really got this to go with the Hoodoo Tarot, but I actually think it will go really well with this new Primordial Tarot I just got as well, which I'll show you in the next video. Wow, just stunning. Absolutely love the artwork. The mosaic backgrounds, just that sort of sepia tone, just works really well. Cards are a bit sticky when together to start with. I didn't really look at to see who the... Oh, it's Destiny Books, Rochester, Vermont, so destinybooks.com. So it's quite different. It really is quite different in the way it works, so it'll be interesting to see what message we get today. They are a bit, I've had to sort of separate the cards to begin with. Oh, I love that skull. It's called Nurturing. Now there is a second language, and I haven't even looked to see what the second language is on the deck, on the cards. So that's it from me there. Right, so it does say to shuffle all the cards. Oh, card just flipped over straight away. So that's obviously important. So I'm going to put that to one side. That's the red. So I've got a blue and a red here. So now I want is the black. So comment on what we need to know at this time. Okay, so I want the black. Okay, the black. And I want the copper. Oh no, there's the copper. That's the blue, and I want the red. Comment on what we need to know. This one here. Okay, so let's have a look. First word we've got, the first one here is the mysteries, obviously the unknown, which we read all about, right? The next one is the copper, and this one is talks about contentment. So sufficient. Oh, it talks about contentment. So it does talk about a sense of happiness on some level. So let's have a look. So we've talked about mysteries, right? About it being unknown. So maybe there's something unknown that's unknown in our life, right? We talk about something being unknown. You know, what's blocking us to the unknown? What's stopping us from having that moment? So let's look at the projection cards, right? What did I say? It was contentment. Contentment is criminal to those who worship suffering. Well, you're not going to worship suffering. Okay. So the temple of Asset at Pompeii represents safety and comfort. It was not a big temple, but undoubtedly served countless devotees who were seeking aid and advice. Merit was the goddess of the treasury and merriment. To be truly happy, we must learn the art of being completely honest with ourselves. If we feel something is not right and we repeatedly try to convince ourselves otherwise, then mediocrity is all we can ever hope to achieve. Perhaps we harbour soul-sunken beliefs such as we can't have it all, don't rock the boat, or would we rather be safe than sorry? But if you reflect on these axioms, it won't take long to see how disapparent they really are. So, are you pretending to be happy? So it talks about the unknown. Are we pretending to be happy at this time? You know, we need to find a way to find our own happiness. So let's have a look at the blue cards. It does talk about prioritizing. You know, what are our priorities at this moment? So reviewing your top priorities in life and consider how achieving whatever you asked about will help you accomplish, improve, or maintain. So when you're looking at the mysteries, the unknown, you know, what's unknown to us at this time, we're looking at trying to find a sense of happiness within our crazy world at this time. So we need to look at what's important. What's really important to us at this time. And then we've got the red cards, the red action cards, the hot cards. And we have speed. Let's talk about speed. So the horse represents transportation, speed and effort. terms was the Etruscan god of trade and navigation. He's said to be the precursor of the Greek god Hermes. The time of pondering what has to be done has passed. It's time to act on what you know. So here we've got the mysteries, the unknown. We want to find a sense of happiness within things. We need to look at what's really important, and maybe the action to take is now. That's a really interesting deck. And I think I'm going to really enjoy sort of working with this in its way. So yeah, that's it from Sibyls Oraculum, Oracle of the Black Doves of Africa, Tiana Lee McKilla, and artwork by Caitlin V. Fozzie. Remember, this is the creator of the Hoodoo Tarot, so it will be interesting to see how they work together. So yeah, that's it from HeKate's Crossing. Don't forget to check the links below. Check the links on my channel, like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded. So take care and blessed be.